So, if you've spent any time online, you've almost certainly heard of the trolley problem. It's one of those classic ethical dilemmas that seems really simple on the surface, but trust me, it's basically designed to trip you up. And, the really great thing about the trolley problem is that you don't need some fancy degree in philosophy or math to get your head around it. All it really requires is just a little bit of thinking. Okay, so here's the classic setup. You've got a train, and it is just barreling straight towards a group of 5 people. Now, in the original problem, they're tied down, so they can't move. In our case, they also can't move, but that's mostly an animation issue. Now, imagine you're just standing there, watching all this happen, and the only thing you can possibly do is pull a switch right next to you, and that switch will divert the train onto a different track. The only problem? Well, there's another person on that new track. So what do, right? Do you pull the lever, or do you just do nothing? I mean, the choice seems pretty black and white when you lay it out like this. Logically, if you can save 4 more lives just by pulling a switch, that feels like the obvious thing to do. And yeah, most people agree, pulling the switch is the right call. It feels like a total open and shut case. But that first gut reaction, that's not the answer to the trolley problem. Not even close. Because this is just part A. The real test is all about the questions that come next. Which brings us to the crucial point. Part B. Would you actually pull the lever? Now, this question is kind of offensive, right? Because it basically assumes you were lying the first time. And for most of us, the correct answer is probably no. In real life, if you were actually standing there next to that switch, it would be a whole different story. You'd be thinking about the legal trouble, the trauma, all the messy real-world consequences. And look, you shouldn't feel bad for hesitating. It's totally normal. When we're faced with a life or death situation, our brains usually just default to one of 3 things: fight, flight, or freeze. After a super quick evaluation of the sheer panic of the moment, your body's probably just going to decide to freeze and, wait for someone more qualified to make the call. Unless you're just built different, of course. Okay, let's move on to part C. The whole setup changes here. There's still one track, still 5 people in danger, but this time, there's no switch to pull. Instead, you're standing on a bridge looking down at the track. Next to you, there's a very large person, and you have this sudden realization that their weight, it would be enough to stop the train if you pushed them onto the track below. So you'd sacrifice them, but you'd save the other 5. Would you do it? Would you push them? Most people have an immediate reaction. No, I would not push him. And this is exactly where some academics might jump in and say, but, the situation is mathematically equivalent. But you see, what those academics sometimes forget is that when people instantly say no, it's because their brain is running its own moral calculator at lightning speed. And we know this better as, a gut feeling. And your gut feeling is totally right, for a few reasons. First of all, let's be honest, in real life, that plan would almost never work. Trains can't really be stopped by one person, and trying to be accurate with that kind of push would be incredibly difficult. Second, even if it was 100% guaranteed to work, this guy, he isn't even on the track. He's just minding his own business. Remember, in that first scenario, the person we sacrificed was standing on the track. Just by being there, they were in a position of assumed risk. They were, kind of in the zone of danger already. And that brings us to part E, the loop. Okay, so the setup is kind of similar. 1 track, 5 people. But now that second track is a short little loop that just rejoins the main line. And standing on that loop is 1 person. You can pull the switch, divert the train through the loop, hit that 1 person, and stop it before it hits the other 5. Now, once again, the academics might say this is mathematically the same as the last one, but it feels really different, doesn't it? For one thing, pulling a switch is way more reliable than trying to accurately push somebody onto a tiny little track. 2, this action looks a lot less bad on you. And 3, and this is a big one, the person is on the track this time. They've accepted that small inherent risk that comes with being on a train track. He's fair game. So for this one, the gut feeling usually flips. The answer is yes, you pulled the switch. The whole context of being on the track changes everything. Okay, on to part F. The hammock. We're back to the original setup, but with a new twist. Now, pulling the switch doesn't divert the train to another clean track, it derails it completely, sending it crashing into a nearby backyard where a guy is just sleeping peacefully in a hammock. Again, mathematically, it's 1 life for 5. but the human brain, it likes to minimize danger. And derailing a whole train could obviously make the situation way more dangerous than it already is. Plus, hitting a guy in his own yard is that's just mean. The answer is no, you don't pull the switch. Now, people say this next part, part F, is the absolute hardest version. Imagine a transplant surgeon. She's got 5 patients, and they each need a different organ to keep on living. But sadly, there are no healthy organs available. And then, all of a sudden, a completely random healthy guy walks in for a routine checkup. And, well, this guy could technically provide all 5 of the required organs. So should the surgeon knock him out and steal his organs to save the 5 patients? It's the exact same 5-for-1 math, but something about this feels very, very different, doesn't it? And this brilliantly illustrates a core principle here. The human mind just knows how to classify these things. The 5 patients who are already sick, they're sort of inside a zone of medical risk. They're fair game for intervention. But the healthy guy, he is not. It's not about saving the most lives in a vacuum. It's about doing what's fair. The final answer is, obviously, do not steal his organs. So where does all this leave us? Well, the trolley problem can be twisted even further to force us to make value judgments. Is one life more valuable than 5 others if we know who the people are? Like, what about a celebrated Nobel Prize winner versus 5 convicted criminals? Well, to be honest, even if the other side of the track was completely empty, I'd probably still hit the Nobel Peace Prize winner.
So I could take the medal and run.
You gotta admit, I think it would be pretty ironic to get the Nobel Peace Prize by causing a completely needless death. Anyway, I'm taking donations in the form of subscribes to help fund the next video, so go ahead and hit that button. Thanks for watching.